The Purgatorio. Canto 1. For better waters now the little bark of my indwelling powers raises her sails and leaves behind that sea so cruel and dark. Now shall I sing that second kingdom given, the soul of man wherein to purge its guilt and so grow worthy to ascend to heaven. Yours am I, sacred muses, to you I pray. Here let dead poetry rise once more to life, and here let sweet Calliope rise and play some fair accompaniment in that high strain, whose power the wretched Pierides once felt so terribly they dared not hope again. Sweet azure of the sapphire of the east was gathering on the serene horizon its pure and perfect radiance, a feast to my glad eyes, reborn to their delight as soon as I had passed from the dead air, which had oppressed my soul and dimmed my sight. The planet whose sweet influence strengthens love was making all the east laugh with her rays, veiling the fishes which she swam above. I turned then to my right and set my mind on the other pole, and there I saw 4 stars unseen by mortals since the first mankind. The heavens seemed to revel in their light, a widowed northern hemisphere bereft forever of the glory of that sight. As I broke off my gazing, my eyes veered a little to the left to the other pole from which by then the wane had disappeared. I saw nearby an ancient man alone. His bearing filled me with such reverence. No father could ask more from his best son. His beard was long and touched with strands of white, as was his hair, of which 2 tresses fell over his breast. Rays of the holy light that fell from the 4 stars made his face glow with such a radiance that he looked to me as if he faced the sun, and standing so he moved his venerable plumes and said, "Who are you two who climb by the dark stream to escape the eternal prison of the dead? Who led you, or what served you as a light in your dark flight from the eternal valley, which lies forever blind in darkest night? Are the laws of the pit so broken, or is new counsel published in heaven that the damned may wander onto my rocks from the abyss of hell?" At that my master laid his hands upon me, instructing me word by word and touch and gesture to show my reverence in brow and knee, then answered him, "I do not come this way of my own will or powers. A heavenly lady sent me to this man's aid in his dark day. But since your will is to know more, my will cannot deny you. I will tell you truly why we have come and how. This man has still to see his final hour, though in the burning of his own madness he had drawn so near it, his time was perilously short for turning. As I have told you, I was sent to show the way his soul must take for its salvation, and there is none but this by which I go. I have shown him the guilty people. Now I mean to lead him through the spirits in your keeping, to show him those whose suffering makes them clean. By what means I have led him to the strand to see and hear you takes too long to tell. From heaven is the power and the command. Now may his coming please you, for he goes to win his freedom, and how dear that is, the man who gives his life for it best knows. You know it, who in that cause found death sweet. In Utica, where you put off that flesh which shall rise radiant at the judgment seat, we do not break the laws, this man lives yet. And I am of that round not ruled by Minos with your own Marcia, whose chaste eyes seem set in endless prayers to you, O blessed breast to hold her yet your own. For love of her, grant us permission to pursue our quest across your seven kingdoms. When I go back to her side, I shall bear thanks of you, if you will let me speak your name below. Marcia was so pleasing in my eyes there on the other side, he answered then, that all she asked I did. Now that she lies beyond the evil river, no word or prayer of hers may move me. Such was the decree pronounced upon us when I rose from there. But if, as you have said, a heavenly dame orders your way, there is no need to flatter, you need but ask it of me in her name. Go then and lead this man, but first see to it you bind a smooth green reed about his waist, and clean his face of all trace of the pit. For it would not be right that one with eyes still filmed by mist should go before the angel who guards the gate. He is from paradise, all round the wave-racked shoreline. There below reeds grow in the soft mud. Along that edge no foliate nor woody plant could grow, for what lives in that buffeting must bend. Do not come back this way, the rising sun will light an easier way you may ascend. With that he disappeared, and silently I rose and moved back till I faced my guide, my eyes upon him waiting. He said to me, follow my steps and let us turn again. Along this side there is a gentle slope that leads to the low boundaries of the plain. The dawn in triumph made the day breeze flee before its coming, so that from afar I recognized the trembling of the sea. We strode across that lonely plain like men who seek the road they strayed from, and who count the time lost till they find it once again. When we had reached a place along the way where the cool morning breeze shielded the dew against the first heat of the gathering day, with gentle graces my sweet master bent and laid both outspread palms upon the grass. Then I, being well aware of his intent, lifted my tear-stained cheeks to him. And there he made me clean, revealing my true color under the residues of hell's black air. We moved on then to the deserted strand which never yet has seen upon its waters a man who found his way back to dry land. There, as it pleased another, he girded me, wonder of wonders. When he plucked a reed, another took its place there instantly, arising from the humble stalk he tore, so that it grew exactly as before. Canto 2. The sun already burned at the horizon, while the high point of its meridian circle covered Jerusalem, and in opposition equal night revolved above the Ganges, bearing the scales that fall out of her hand as she grows longer with the season's changes. Thus where I was, Aurora in her passage was losing the pale blushes from her cheeks, which turned to orange with increasing age. We were still standing by the sea's new day, like travelers pondering the road ahead, who send their souls on while their bones delay, when low above the ocean's western rim, as Mars at times observed through the thick vapors that from before the dawn burns red and slim, just so may I hope to see it again. A light appeared, moving above the sea faster than any flight. A moment then I turned my eyes to question my sweet guide, and when I looked back to that unknown body, I found its mass and brightness magnified. Then from each side of it came into view an unknown, something white, and from beneath it, bit by bit, another whiteness grew. We watched till the white objects at each side took shape as wings, and Virgil spoke no word, but when he saw what wings they were, he cried, "Down on your knees, it is God's angel comes. Down, fold your hands. From now on you shall see many such ministers in the high kingdoms. See how he scorns man's tools. He needs no oars nor any other sail than his own wings to carry him between such distant shores. See how his pinions tower upon the air, pointing to heaven. They are eternal plumes, and do not mold like feathers or human hair. Then, as that bird of heaven closed the distance between us, he grew brighter and yet brighter until I could no longer bear the radiance, and bowed my head. He steered straight for the shore, his ship so light and swift it drew no water. It did not seem to sail so much as soar. Astern stood the great pilot of the Lord, so fair his blessedness seemed written on him, and more than 1,000 souls were seated forward, singing as if they raised a single voice, in Exitu Israel at Egypto. Verse after verse they made their air rejoice. The angel made the sign of the cross, and they cast themselves at his signal to the shore. Then swiftly as he had come, he went away. The throng he left seemed not to understand what place it was, but stood and stared about like men who see the first of a new land. The sun, who with an arrow in each ray had chased a goat out of the height of heaven, on every hand was shooting forth the day. When those new souls looked up to where my guide and I stood, saying to us, "If you know it, show us the road that climbs the mountainside." Virgil replied, "You think perhaps we too have had some long experience of this place, but we are also pilgrims, come before you only by very little by a way so steep, so broken, and so tortuous, the climb ahead of us will seem like play." The throng of souls observing by my breath, I was still in the body I was born to, stared in amazement and grew pale as death. As a crowd eager for news will all but smother a messenger who bears the olive branch and not care how they trample one another, so these, each one of them a soul elect, push close to stare at me, well nigh forgetting the way to go to make their beauty perfect. One came forward to embrace me, and his face shone with such joyous love, seeing it I moved to greet him with a like embrace. O solid seeming shadows! 3 times there I clasped my hands behind him, and 3 times I drew them to my breast through empty air. Amazed I must have lost all color then, for he smiled tenderly and drew away. And I lunged forward as if to try again. In a voice as gentle as a melody, he bade me pause, and by his voice I knew him and begged him stay a while and speak to me. He answered, "As I loved you in the clay of my mortal body, so do I love you freed, therefore I pause. But what brings you this way?" "Casella mine. I go the way I do in the hope I may return here," I replied. "But why has so much time been taken from you?" And "I am not wronged if he whose usage accepts the soul at his own time and pleasure has many times refused to give me passage. His will moves in the image and perfection of a just will, indeed. For 3 months now he has taken all who asked, without exception, and so it was that in my turn I stood upon that shore where Tiber's stream grows salt, and there was gathered to my present good. It is back to the Tiber's mouth he has just flown, for there forever is the gathering place of all who do not sink to Acheron. If no new law has stripped you of your skill or of the memory of those songs of love that once could calm all passions from my will. I said to him, "O sound of verse once more to soothe my soul, which, with its weight of flesh and the long journey, sinks distressed and sore. Love that speaks its resonance in my heart," he sang then, in such grace float on the air that even now I hear that music start. My God and I and all those souls of bliss stood tranced in song, when suddenly we heard the noble elder cry, "What's this? What's this? Negligence, loitering! O laggard crew, run to the mountain and strip off the scurf that lets not God be manifest in you." Exactly as a flock of pigeons gleaning a field of stubble, pecking busily, forgetting all their primping and their preening, will rise as one and scatter through the air, leaving their feast without another thought, when they are taken by a sudden scare, so that new band, all thought of pleasure gone, broke from the feast of music with a start and scattered for the mountainside like one who leaps and does not look where he will land, nor were my God and I inclined to stand. Canto 3. Those routed souls scattered across this scene, their faces once again turned toward the mountain where reason spurs and justice picks clean. But I drew ever closer to my God, and how could I have run my course without him? Who would have led me up the mountainside? He seemed gnawed by remorse for his offense. O noble conscience without stain, how sharp the sting of a small fault is to your sense. When he had checked that haste that urges men to mar the dignity of every act, my mind forced in upon itself till then broke free, and eager to see all before me, I raised my eyes in wonder to that mountain that soars highest to heaven from the sea. Low at my back the sun was a red blaze. Its light fell on the ground before me, broken in the form in which my body blocked its rays. I gave a start of fear and whirled around, seized by the thought that I had been abandoned, for I saw one shadow only on the ground, and my comfort turned full to me then to say, "Why are you still uncertain? Why do you doubt that I am here and guide you on your way? Vespers have rung already on the tomb of the body in which I used to cast a shadow. It was taken to Naples from Brindisium. If now I cast no shadow, should that fact amaze you more than the heavens, which pass the light undimmed from one to another, we react within these bodies to pain and heat and cold, according to the workings of that will which does not will that all its ways be told." He is insane who dreams that he may learn by mortal reasoning the boundless orbit three persons in one substance fill in turn. Be satisfied with the quia of cause unknown of humankind, for could you have seen all, Mary need not have suffered to bear a son. You saw how some yearn endlessly in vain, such as would else have surely had their wish, but have instead its hunger as their pain. I speak of Aristotle and Plato, he said, of them and many more. And here he paused, and sorrowing and silent bowed his head. Meanwhile we reached the mountain's foot, and there we found so sheer a cliff the nimblest legs would not have served unless they walked on air. The most forsaken and most broken goat trace in the mountains between Larici and Turbia, compared to this, would seem a gracious staircase. My God exclaimed, "Now who is there to say in which direction we may find some slope up, which one without wings may pick his way?" While he was standing, head bowed to his shoulders, and pondering which direction we might take, I stood there looking up among the boulders, and saw upon my left, beside that cliff face, a throng that moved its feet in our direction, and yet seemed not so, so slow was its pace. "Master," I said, "look up, and you will find some people coming who may solve the problem if you have not yet solved it in your mind." He looked up then, and openly relieved, said, Let us go to them, since they lag so, and you, dear son, believe as you have believed. We were as far off yet from that slow flock. I mean, when we had gone 1,000 paces, as a strong slingsman could have thrown a rock. When they drew in against the cliff and stood there like men who fear what they see coming toward them and waiting for it, huddle close and stare. O well concluded lives, O souls thus met, already among the chosen, Virgil said, by that sweet crown of peace that shall be set on each of you in time, tell us which way leads to some slope, by which we too may climb. Who best knows time is most grieved by delay? As sheep come through a gate by ones, by twos, by threes, and all the others trail behind, timidly nose to ground, and what the first does the others do, and if the first one pauses, the others huddle up against his back, silly and mute, not knowing their own causes. Just so I stood there watching with my guide the first row of that happy flock come on, their look meek and their movements dignified, and when the souls that came first in that flock saw the light broken on the ground to my right, so that my shadow fell upon the rock, they halted and inched back as if to shy, and all the others who came after them did as the first did, without knowing why. Let me confirm the thought you leave unspoken. It is a living body you see before you, by which the sunlight on the ground is broken. Do not be astonished. You may rest assured he does not seek the way to climb this wall without a power from heaven. Thus my Lord addressed them, and those worthy spirits said, waving the backs of their hands in our direction, first turn around and then go straight ahead. And one soul said to me, whoever you are, as you move on, look back and ask yourself if you have ever seen me over there. I studied him with care. My head turned round. Gold blonde he was, and handsomely patrician, although one brow was split by a sword wound. When I, in all humility, confessed I never before had seen him, he said, look, and showed me a great slash above his breast, and smiling added, I am Manfred, grandson of the blessed Empress Constance, and I beg you, when you return there over the horizon, go to my sweet daughter, noble mother of the honor of Sicily and of Aragon, and speak the truth if men speak any other. My flesh had been twice hacked, and each wound mortal, when tearfully I yielded up my soul to him whose pardon gladly waits for all. Horrible were my sins, but infinite is the abiding goodness which holds out its open arms to all who turn to it. If the pastor of Cosenza, by the rage of Clement, sent to hunt me down, had first studied the book of God at this bright page, my body's bones would still be in the ground there by the bridgehead outside Benevento, under the heavy guard of the stone mound, now rattled by the wind, by the rain drenched. They lie outside the kingdom by the Verde, where he transported them with tapers quenched. No man may be so cursed by priest or pope, but would the eternal love may still return while any thread of green lives on in hope. Those who die contumacious, it is true, though they repent their feud with Holy Church, they must wait outside here on the bank as we do, for 30 times as long as they refuse to be obedient, though by good prayers in their behalf, that time may be reduced. See then how great a service you may do me when you return by telling my good Constance of my condition and of this decree that still forbids our entrance to the kingdom, for here from those beyond great good may come. Canto 4. When any sense of ours records intense pleasure or pain, then the whole soul is drawn by such impressions into that one sense, and seems to lose all other powers, and thus do I refute the error that asserts that one soul on another burns in us. And for this reason, when we see or hear whatever seizes strongly on the soul, time passes and we lose it unaware. For that which senses is one faculty, and that which keeps the soul intact another. The first, as it were, bound, the second free. To this my own experience bears witness. For while I listened to that soul and marveled, the sun had climbed without my least awareness to 50-fold degrees of its noon peak, When at one point along the way that band cried out in chorus, "Here's what you seek." Often when grapes hang full on slope and ledge, the peasant with one forkful of his thorns seals up a water opening in his hedge. Then the gap we found there in that wall of stone, up which, leaving that band of souls behind, my guide led and I followed, we two alone. Go up to San Leo or go down to Noli, go climb Bismantova, 2 legs suffice. Here nothing but swift wings will answer wholly. The swift wings and the feathers, I mean to say, of great desire, led onward by that guide, who was my hope and light along the way. Squeezed in between 2 walls that almost meet, we labor upward through the riven rock, a climb that calls for both our hands and feet. Above the cliff's last rise, we reached in time an open slope. "Do we go right or left?" I asked my master. "Do we still climb?" And he, "Take not one step to either side, but follow yet, and make way up the mountain till we meet someone who may serve as guide." Higher than sight, the peak soared to the sky, much steeper than a line drawn from mid-quadrant to the center, was the slope that met my eye. The climb had sapped my last strength when I cried, "Sweet Father, turn to me. Unless you pause, I shall be left here on the mountainside." He pointed to a ledge a little ahead that wound around the whole face of the slope. "Pull yourself that much higher, my son," he said. His words so spurred me that I forced myself to push on after him on the hands and knees until at last my feet were on that shelf. There we sat, facing eastward to survey the trail we had just climbed, for oftentimes a backward look comforts one on the way. I looked down first to the low-lying shore, then upward to the sun, and stopped amazed, for it was from the left its arrows bore. Virgil was quick to note that the start I gave when I beheld the chariot of the sun, driven between me and the north wind's cave. "Were Castor and Pollux," he said, "in company of that bright mirror which sends forth its rays equally up and down, then you would see the 12-toothed cogwheel of the zodiac turned till it blazed still closer to the bears, unless it were to stray from its fixed track. If you wish to understand why this is so, imagine Zion and this mountain so placed on earth, the one above, the other below, that the two have one horizon, though they lie in different hemispheres. Therefore the path that Phaethon could not follow in the sky must necessarily, in passing here on the one side, pass there upon the other, as your own reasoning will have made clear. And I then, master, I may truly vow I never grasped so well the very point on which my wits were most astray just now, that the mid-circle of the highest heaven, called the equator, always lies between the sun and winter, and for the reason given lies as far north of this place at all times as the Hebrews, when they held Jerusalem, were wont to see it toward the warmer climes. But if you please, I shall be glad to know how far we have yet to climb, for the peak soars higher to heaven than my eye can go. And he such is this mount that when a soul begins the lower slopes, it most must labor. Then less and less and more it nears its goal, the more it nears its goal. Thus, when we reach the point where the slopes seem to smooth and gentle, that the climb becomes so easy as to float a skiff downstream, then will this road be run and not before. That journey's end will your repose be found. I know this much for truth and say no more. His words were hardly out when from nearby we heard a voice say, "Maybe by that time you'll find you need to sit before you fly." We turned together at the sound, and there, close on our left, we saw a massive boulder of which till then we had not been aware. To it we dragged ourselves, and there we found stretched in the shade the way a slovenly man lies down to rest, some people on the ground. The weariest of them, judging by his pose, sat hugging both knees, while his head abandoned dropped down between them halfway to his toes. "Master," I said, "look at that sorry one who seems so all let down. Were Sloth herself his sister, he could not be so far gone." That heap took heed, and even turned his head upon his thigh enough to look at us. "You climb it if you're such a flash," he said. I knew him then, and all the agony that still burned in my lungs and raced my pulse did not prevent my going to him, he raising his head just barely when I stood by, drawled, "So you really know now why the sun steers to the left of you across the sky?" His short words and his shorter acts combined made me half smile as I replied, "Belakwa, your fate need never again trouble my mind. Praise be for that, but why do you remain crouched here? Are you waiting for a guide, perhaps, or are you up to your old tricks again?" "Old friend," he said, "what good is it to climb? God's bird above the gate would never let me pass through to start my trials before my time. I must wait here until the heavens wheel past as many times as they passed me in my life, for I delayed the good sighs till the last. Prayer could help me if a heart God's love has filled with grace should offer it. All other is worthless, for it is not heard above. But now the poet already led the way to the slope above, saying to me, 'Come now.' The sun has touched the very peak of day. Above the sea and night already stands, with one black foot upon Morocco's sands." Canto 5. I was following the footsteps of my guide, having already parted from those shades, when someone at my back pointed and cried, "Look there! See how the sun's shafts do not drive through to the left of that one lower down, and how he walks as if he were alive." I looked behind me to see who had spoken, and I saw them gazing up at me alone, at me and at the light that it was broken, at which my master said, "Why do you lag? What has so turned your mind that you look back? What is it to you that idle tongues will wag? Follow my steps, though all such whisper of you be as a tower of stone, its lofty crown unswayed by anything the winds may do. For when a man lets his attention range toward every wisp, he loses true direction, sapping his mind's force with continual change. What could I say except I come? I said it flushed with that hue that sometimes asks forgiveness, for which it shows the asker to be fit. Meanwhile, across the slope a little before us, people approached chanting the Miserere, verse by verse in alternating chorus. But when they noticed that I blocked the course of the sun's arrows, when they struck my body, their songs changed to an "oh," prolonged and hoarse. Out of that silenced choir, two spirits ran like messengers, and reaching us, they said, "We beg to know, are you a living man?" My God replied, "You may be on your way, and bear back word to those who send you here. He does indeed still walk in mortal clay. If, as I think it was his shadow drew them to stand and stare, they know already, tell them to honor him, that may be precious to them. I never saw hot vapors flashing through the first sweet air of night, or through clouds of August sunsets, faster than those two ran up to join their band, wheeled round again, and with the whole band following, came toward us like cavalry sent forward with a loose rein. There are hundreds in that troop that charges, so my God said, and I'll come to beg a favor, hear them but press on, listening as you go. Pure spirit, they came crying, you who thus, while still inside the body, you were born to climb to your bliss. Oh, pause and speak to us. Is there no one here you recognize? Not one of whom you may bear tidings to the world? Wait, won't you pause? Oh, please, why do you run? We all are souls who died by violence, all sinners to our final hour, in which the lamp of heaven shed its radiance into our hearts. Thus, from the brink of death, repenting all our sins, forgiving those who sinned against us, with our final breath, we offered up our souls at peace with him who saddens us, with longing to behold his glory on the throne of seraphim. Oh, well-born souls, I said, I can discover no one among you that I recognize, however much I search your faces over. But if you wish some service of me, speak, and if the office is within my power, I will perform it by that peace I seek in following the footsteps of this guide. that peace that draws me on from world to world to my own good. I paused, and one replied, no soul among us doubts you will fulfill all you declare without your need to swear it, if lack of power does not defeat your will. I then who am no more than first to plead beg, that if ever you see that land that lies between Romania and Naples, you speak my need most graciously in Fano, that they to heaven send holy prayers to intercede for me, so may my great offenses be forgiven. I was of Fano, but the wounds that spilled my life's blood and my soul at once were dealt me among the Antinori. I was killed where I believed I had the least to fear, Azo of Este, being incensed against me beyond all reason, had me waylaid there. Had I turned toward La Mira, when they set upon me first outside of Oresquio, I should be drawing breath among men yet. I ran into the swamp and reeds and mud entangled and trapped me. There I fell, and there I watched my veins let out a pool of blood. Another spoke, so may the love divine fulfill the wish that draws you up the mountain. For sweet compassion, lend your aid to mine. I am Bonconte, once of Montefeltro. Because Giovanna and the rest forget me, I go among these souls with head bowed low. And I, what force or chance led you to stray so far from Campaldino, that your grave remains to be discovered to this day? And there flows below the Casentino a stream, the Archiana, which arises above the Hermitage in Apennino. There where its name ends in the Arno's flood I came, my throat pierced through, fleeing on foot and staining all my course with my life's blood. There my sight failed, there with a final moan, which was the name of Mary. Speech went from me, I fell, and there my body lay alone. I speak the truth, oh, speak it in my name to living men. God's angel took me up, and hell's cried out, why do you steal my game? If his immortal part is your catch, brother, for one squeezed tear that makes me turn it loose, I've got another treatment for the other. You are familiar with the way immense watery vapors gather on the air, then burst as rain as soon as they condense. To ill will that seeks only ill, his mind added intelligence, and by the powers his nature gives, he stirred the mist and wind. From Prato Magno to the spine he spread a mist that filled the valley by day's end, then turned the skies above it dark as lead. The saturated air changed into rain, and down it crashed, flooding the rivulets with what the sodden earth could not retain. The rills merged into torrents, and a flood swept irresistibly to the royal river. The Archiana, raging froth and mud, found my remains in their last frozen rest just at its mouth, swept them into the Arno, and broke the cross I had formed upon my breast. In my last agony of pain and guilt, along its banks and down its bed it rolled me, and then it bound and buried me in silt. A third spoke when that second soul had done, when you have found your way back to the world, and found your rest from this long road you run. Oh, speak my name again with living breath to living memory. Pia am I. Siena gave me birth, Maremma death. As he well knows who took me as his wife, with jeweled ring before he took my life. Canto 6. The loser, when a game of dice is done, remains behind, reviewing every roll, sadly and sadly wiser and alone. The crowd leaves with the winner, one behind tugs at him, one ahead, one at his side, all calling their long loyalty to his mind, not stopping. He hands out a coin or two, and those he has rewarded let him be, so he fights off the crowd and pushes through. Such was I then, turning my face now here, now there among that rout, and promising on every hand till I at last fought clear. There was the Aretine, who came to woe at the murderous hand of Taco, and the other who drowned while he was hunting down his foe. Their hands outstretched to me as I pushed through was Federico Novello, and the Pisan who made the good Marzucco shine so true. I saw Count Orso, and the shade of one torn from its flesh, it said, by hate and envy, and not for any evil it had done. Pierre de la Brosse, and of this word may the Lady of Brabant take heed while here, lest there she find herself in a worse herd. When I had won my way free of that press of shades, whose one prayer was that others pray, and so advance them toward their blessedness, I said, O my soul's light, it seems to me one of your verses most expressly states, prayer may not alter heaven's fixed decree. Yet all these souls pray only for a prayer. Can all their hope be vain? Or have I missed your true intent and read some other there? And he, the sense of what I wrote is plain if you bring all your wits to bear upon it, nor is the hope of all these spirits vain. The towering crag of justice is not bent, nor is the rigor of its edict softened, because the supplicants of the fervent and pure in heart cancel the debt of time decreed on all these souls who linger here, consumed with yearning to begin the climb. The souls I wrote about were in that place where sin is not atoned for, and their prayers they being pagan were cut off from grace. But save all questions of such consequence till you meet her, who will become your lamp between the truth and mere intelligence. Do you understand me? Beatrice. She will appear above here at the summit of this same mountain, smiling in her bliss. My lord, I said, let us go faster now. I find the climb less tiring than at first. And see, the slope already throws a shadow. The day leads on, he said. And we shall press as far as we yet may, while the light holds. But the ascent is harder than you guess. Before it ends, the sun must come around from its present hiding place behind the mountain, and once more cast your shadow on the ground. But see that spirit stationed all alone and looking down at us. He will point out the best road for us as we travel on. We climbed on then, O Lombard, soul serene. Now nobly and deliberately you watched us. How distant and majestic was your mien. He did not speak to us as we pressed, but held us fixed in his unblinking eyes as if he were a lion at its rest. Virgil nonetheless climbed to his side and begged him to point out the best descent. The shade ignored the question and replied by asking in what country we were born and who we were. My gentle guide began, Mantua, and that shade, till then withdrawn, leaped to his feet like one in sudden haste, crying, O Mantuan, I am Sordello of your own country, and the two embraced. Ah, servile Italy, grief's hostelry. Ah, ship unpiloted in the storm's rage, no mother of provinces but of harlotry. No mother of provinces but of harlotry. That noble spirit leaped up with a start at the mere sound of his city's name, and took his fellow citizen to his heart. While still within you, brother wars on brother. While still within you, brother wars on brother. And though one wall and moat surrounds them all, your living sons still gnaw at one another. O wretched land, search all your coasts, your seas, the bosom of your hills, where will you find a single part that knows the joys of peace? What does it matter that Justinian came to trim the bit, if no one sits the saddle? Without him you would have less cause for shame. You priests who, if you heed what God decreed, should most seek after holiness and leave to Caesar Caesar's saddle and his steed. See how the beast grows wild now, none restrains his temper, nor corrects it with the spur, since you set meddling hands upon its reins. O German Albert, you who turn away while she grows vicious, Being masterless, you should have forked her long before today. May a just judgment from the stars descend upon your house, a blow so weirdly clear that your line tremble at it to the end. For you, sir, and your father in your greed, for the cold conquests of your northern lands have let the empire's gardens go to seed. Come see the empire's garden go to seed. Come see the Montagues and Capulets, the Monaldi and Philippeschi, reckless man, those ruined already, these whom ruin besets. Come, cruel emperor, come and see your lords hunted. Come and see your lords hunted and hold. Come tend their wounds and see what fine security Santa Foire affords. Come see our stricken Rome that weeps alone, widowed and miserable, and day and night laments, O Caesar mine, why are you gone? Come see your people everywhere the same, united in love, and if no pity for us can move you, come and blush for your good name. O supreme Jove, for mankind crucified, if you permit the question, I must ask it. Are the eyes of your clear justice turned aside, or is this the unfolding of a plan shaped in your fathomless counsels towards some good beyond all reckoning of mortal man? For the land is a tyrant's roost, and any clod who comes along playing the partisan passes for a Marcellus with the crowd. Florence, my Florence, may you not resent the fact that my digression has not touched you, thanks to your people's sober management. Others have justice at heart, but a bow strung by careful counsels, and not quickly drawn. Yours shoot the word forever from the tongue. Others offered public offense, shun the cares of service. Yours cry out unasked, I'll take it on, I'm the one. Rejoice, I say, that your great gifts endure. Your wealth, your peacefulness, and your good sense, what truth I speak, the facts will not obscure. Athens and Sparta, when of old they drew the codes of law that civilized the world, gave only merest hints, compared to you, of man's advance. But all time shall remember the subtlety with which the thread you spin in mid-October breaks before November. How often within living recollection you changed coinage, custom, law, and office, and hacked your own limbs off and sewed them on. But if your wits and memory are not dead, you yet will see yourself as that sick woman who cannot rest, though on a feather bed, but flails, as if she fenced with pain and grief. Ah, Florence, may your cure or course be brief.